How to Be a Hero. Words by Florence Perry Hyde. Pictures by Chuck Growenick. We would like to thank Chronicle Books San Francisco for allowing us to read this book to you virtually today. Once upon a time, there was a nice boy, and his name was Gideon. He lived in a nice house, and he had nice parents and lots of toys. There, that's enough for anyone. Well, it wasn't enough for Gideon. Gideon wasn't satisfied. He wanted to be a hero. You know, a hero with his name on the front page of the newspaper, that sort of thing. So, how does anyone get to be a hero anyway? He wondered. You have to be strong. You have to be brave. You have to be clever, don't you? For instance, that one about a princess imprisoned in a tower, and she has a weird name like Rapunzel and very long hair, and this guy sees her and says, "Let down your hair," and she does, and he climbs up her hair and rescues her, so he's a hero. And the story where a witch gives a girl a poisoned apple, and when she takes a bite, she goes into a deep sleep, which is sort of like being dead, but not really, and nothing will get her awake except a kiss, and someone does see her sleeping there, and he kisses her, and he's a hero, just like that. And Gideon thought about the one where someone has a mean stepmother and mean stepsisters, and they make her dust and sweep and scrub, so she never gets to go to parties. But a fairy godmother gives her a party dress and glass slippers, and she goes to a big party and loses one of her glass slippers, and this guy finds it and gives it to her, and that makes him a hero, and just because he found that slipper. He noticed that some of them got to be heroes just by kissing someone. Gideon didn't much like the kissing part, but he'd probably do it if he could get to be a hero that way. Once the babysitter fell asleep watching television, and he wondered if that would count if he kissed her, but he didn't think so, and he didn't do it. One of his favorite stories was the one about this kid finding some seeds or beans or something like that, and they grow up to be a great big vine, and he climbs up and finds some neat things. There's a giant up there, but he's asleep, so the kid takes home all the good stuff, and he's a hero, and he doesn't have to kiss anybody. Gideon thought about how all those guys turned out to be heroes, and he decided they hadn't really had to do anything or be anything. They didn't have to be strong. They didn't have to be brave. They didn't have to be clever. They just had to be at the right place at the right time. That's how you get to be a hero. You have to be at the right place at the right time. And you had to pay attention. You had to keep your eyes open, or you wouldn't see someone who was sleeping or someone with unusually long hair, or you wouldn't see any glass slipper or any beans or seeds or anything. So Gideon paid attention, and he kept his eyes open. He kept his eyes open, and that is how he saw the big supermarket. Seeing the supermarket reminded him that he wanted a candy bar. His nice parents had just given him his allowance, so he had enough money. Gideon picked out his candy bar and waited patiently in line behind several other customers. He noticed there were balloons and flowers and cakes, and as he paid for his candy, people suddenly surrounded him, taking pictures, clapping him on the back, congratulating him. Congratulating Gideon for what? What for? Well, Gideon was the 10,000th customer to buy something at the supermarket. Everybody was excited. People patted him on the back. A girl kissed him on the cheek. For a minute, he wondered whether that might turn him into a prince or a frog, but nothing happened. The manager said he could come in for a candy bar anytime he felt like having one. His name was on the front page of the newspaper. His picture was on the front page. He was a hero, and all because he had managed to be at the right place at the right time. Good.
Hey friends, so in our story we were introduced to a character named Gideon, and Gideon's main dream was to be a hero, and he wanted to be on the front page of the newspaper, and his dream came true, didn't it? So today I thought it would be a great opportunity to talk about newspapers and a little bit about their history, how far we've come, and later on we're going to talk about our local newspaper in Allen County, the Citizen-Times. So many people read newspapers for information on important events. Newspapers are usually published regularly, such as every day, week, or month. By the late 1900s, Europe had more than 2,600 daily newspapers, and Asia had more than 2,500. There were some 2,200 dailies in North America alone. There was about 760 in South America and about 160 in Africa. The core of the newspaper is for its local stories about national and international news as well. Many newspapers also contain columns in which people offer their own opinions or interpretations of events. Other articles may cover entertainment, business, travel, and sports. Most newspapers also have those classified ads for advertisements. It takes many different people to publish a newspaper. Editors decide what should be written. Reporters research and write their stories. Photographers take pictures. Business people handle such matters as subscriptions and advertising. And many other people help write, design, print, distribute, and sell the newspaper. So gathering enough information to fill a newspaper can be really hard, and it's expensive. Until there was the creation of news services. News services collect information from around the world and sell it to many different newspapers. The Associated Press and the Reuters are two well-known news services. Now, before printing was invented, each copy of a text had to be written by hand. That process was really expensive, but it took a lot of time, and that was the main stumbling block there. In the mid-1400s, Johann Gutenberg invented the printing press, and that made it possible to print words on paper quickly. From that time, newsletters and pamphlets about news events were published in Europe. In the 1600s, newspapers similar to modern ones began to appear in Europe and Japan. The first newspaper in what is now the United States appeared in 1704. In 1791, the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution guaranteed freedom of the press for the United States. Some countries, however, still ban newspapers or prevent them from publishing stories that criticize their government. The invention of computers in the 1900s greatly changed the newspaper business. Today, writers can quickly send stories to publishers through their email. Editors and designers can easily change the content and look of articles using their own computers. And in the late 1900s, many people began reading the newspaper articles on the internet rather than in printed form. So stay tuned for some more information on our local newspaper, the Citizen-Times.
The Citizen-Times is the second oldest commercial business in Allen County. Its story is intertwined with the century-long legacy of founder Roy Russell Pitchford and his descendants. Roy moved from his birthplace near Smith Grove in Warren County to Allen County at age 8, and 10 years later apprenticed to the printing trade at the Allen Reflector. By 1902, he had risen to editor. Fiercely competitive, he absorbed a rival newspaper, the New Enterprise, and consolidated the two. Printer's ink was in Roy's blood. He launched his own newspaper, The Citizen, in 1908. The building at 611 East Main Street was a 16-foot by 50-foot tin-covered frame structure that housed a Cottrell printing press and several cases of movable type used to compose the paper.
The Citizen and Roy's competitor, the Allen County Times, had very different views when it came to politics. In a powerful move, Roy purchased the Allen County Times in 1918 and consolidated it with the Citizen on October 18th, forming the Citizen Times. Roy steadily improved the Citizen Times. In 1929, the building burned and Roy built one of the first fireproof buildings in Scottsville. Through the 1930s, Roy and his boys added 2 linotype machines that greatly increased the speed of page production. He also added a newer job press and finishing equipment. A mill-cut sheet newspaper press replaced the aging Cottrell. Weekly production grew to 8 pages while circulation had exceeded 1,200 copies each week. For the next 20 years, the newspaper grew in size, influence, and circulation. Job printing was still a major part of the business. In 1966, the sheet-fed mill press had been replaced with a Goss web press, allowing high-speed, continuous feed, 16-page single-section capability. A new addition was added to the rear of the building to house the Goss press, and the area formerly occupied by the mill was converted to a modern darkroom. In the decade that followed, new equipment and changing technologies were steadily added to the Citizen Times. The tried-and-true letterpress technology that had served the newspaper since its beginnings, with hand-set or linotype cast, lead type, and engraved photographic plates, was being rapidly phased out by phototypesetting and offset presses. Weekly newspapers around the region were faced with a total revamp of their printing equipment to keep up with a rapidly changing environment. In 1971, they sold the Goss letterpress, shut down the linotype machines, and jumped headlong into the computer age. He purchased a new arc, plate-making equipment, 3 tape punch typesetters, and a photo-setting computer that stood 5 feet tall. The new machines were totally different from the linotypes that had faithfully served them since the 1930s. Everything was beginning to change. Most significantly, due to the prohibitive cost, the decision was made to forego the purchase of a new press, meaning that the Citizen Times would no longer be printed in Scottsville. This transformation took 1 week. On April the 15th, the Citizen Times went from hot type to paste up. The offset era had begun using the web leader press at the Franklin Favorite. Immediately, readers began to notice the improved printer quality and the sharper photographs. The staff capitalized on the image quality available and expanded the use of news and sports photography. Color was now available for advertisers, and whenever possible, the front page banner head appeared in color. By the 1990s, the advertising base swelled to an average of 24 pages per week, and circulation grew to over 5,500 copies, making it one of the largest weekly circulations in the state. Matt Pettigo, a Western Kentucky University honors graduate in journalism, joined the staff as editor in January of 2000 after freelancing for the paper for several years while still at WKU. The Citizen Times stands today as the only newspaper in Allen County. Over 118 years of Allen County history has been recorded in its pages for its loyal readership. Matt Pettigo is the current owner and operator of the Citizen Times. He took over the business on January 3rd of 2018, becoming the first person outside of the Pitchford family to ever own the paper. Until that point, we were thought to be Kentucky's oldest newspaper that was still owned by the founding family. Matt is a native of San Rafael, California, a 1987 ACS graduate, and a cum laude 2000 WKU graduate. I wanted to briefly share with you the different parts of a newspaper page so that whenever you have your activity given to you later in this video, you will know what to do. So at the top part, you will normally have the logo of the organization. So while this says the Daily News, it's just a generic template, the Citizen Times logo would be here at the top. Underneath it, you're going to have the main story title or your header. So whatever significant happened for that day or that week, they're going to have that title there, maybe a subheading to kind of describe what's happening, and there will be a picture of the event. Underneath the picture, there is usually something that's called a story headline, and beneath that there will be an article. Now usually there's not enough room on the front of the page for everything to be written out, so there will more than likely be a continuum where it will tell you to go to a specific page to read the article further. To the side, there's usually going to be another picture with a related article or an offbeat topic of things that are going on in the community. And below, you may have a sub-article or even a slot for your advertisement. So stay tuned for just a second for me to get ready to let you know about your assignment, because now we're going to imagine that we are reporters ourselves and we are reporting the news in our community. So stay tuned.
All right, so in the comments section below, there is a template for this picture that you see floating on your screen, and you are going to create your own newspaper cover page. It reads extra, extra, read all about me, because this newspaper is all about you. At the top it says the blank Times, and it wants you to write your name here. So here I would put the Miss Amanda Times, and I would complete this by reading the directions, and parents, help your kiddos if they need help reading this. To the left, you're going to draw a picture of yourself, and then you're going to write a caption. So draw a picture of your face, and then write a little blurb about you. On the right, it wants you to write a memorable event in your life. It can be embarrassing, funny, exciting. Don't forget to include all of the important facts. At the bottom, it says, did you know? Get the whole truth here. So fill in the blanks, and these are things that people can learn about you. I love this middle part at the bottom because it says Superhero Spotlight, and that comes all the way back around to our book that we read at the beginning of this video about Gideon and how he can be a hero. It says write a mini article about someone who inspires you, and then it wants you to draw a little picture of them to the side. And at the very bottom, it says, say what? Below, record your favorite quote or a phrase that represents you. For the friends who complete this assignment and upload it either to our Google Classroom page or they add the picture in the comments below on this video, I will enter your name to win a prize, and we will draw those names next Thursday before our next summer reading program. So we're very excited. Hope you've had a great time, and we can't wait to see you next week for summer reading. If you still need to register, please go to our website, allencountylibrary.com. Click on the Our Forms button, and you can still register to make sure that you can get your reading log and win all the prizes that we have for you. We want to thank the Citizen Times for all the information they have been able to give to us to share with you. So make sure to go support them, pick up a paper this week. There is just something nostalgic about picking up the paper to read your news. Bye.